This is the Our Town with Troy By, North Alabama's podcast. My guest today is Juwan Williams.
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem, man.
Yeah.
Do you have a middle name?
Akita.
Akita. Oh, that's right.
My mom's Japanese.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's to my knowledge, my grandfather's first name, so it kind of just got passed to me specifically. So
Do you like it?
yeah, I like it. It kind of gives me, I'll say, that unique edge where I was in elementary school, in middle school, all those times in high school, where I'm the only one that's biracially mixed specifically with black and Japanese. So you become almost like a unicorn, but me and my brother weren't really like the shy type. So it never really had us in an issued manner, I'll say, of a unicorn that's in the shadow. We were more of like, oh, there's the Williams brothers they're both mixed kind of thing. So it kind of became like a stapling effect for us at that point.
Does he have a Japanese middle name?
His is Masadu.
Masadu.
Yeah. So his is definitely Japanese too. I don't know where his is based off of, I'll say. Yeah. But I just know about mine. Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about the most famous person I know in sports that's half African American and half Asian. Can you think of who I'm thinking of?
Who are you thinking of?
Tiger Woods.
I didn't even know he was mixed with Asian. Oh,
yeah, his mom's Thai.
Okay. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, it adds that like uniqueness, I'll say, to, even skin complexion, I'll say. It's almost like they almost don't know exactly what you are. I've been called Mexican and Filipino and like everything possible, but black and Japanese as a guess of mixture. So it becomes like a game all the time of like, they ask me if I'm mixed, and I ask them, what do you think I'm mixed with? If you believe I'm mixed, that's fine. So then it gives me like a little laugh all the time, I'll say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, most people are ignorant.
Yeah, exactly.
And, but people that, I was actually talking to someone the other day, and if you haven't lived in another country, we have it good here, right? This person's point was like, there's no other place in the world where you can drive. You could just get in the car right now, and we could drive 2,500 miles, and all you need is a driver's license and a credit card.
Yep.
And you can go anywhere.
And nowadays, it doesn't even have to be your credit card.
That's true. Yeah. But, like, just think of the freedom of that.
Yep.
You're crossing all these state boundaries, but no one's, like,
With
infringing
no
upon you. Yeah, you just stop and you get some you stop for gas, you get some food along the way, you have some good laughs when you encounter the weirdos that are in this country.
Yeah.
But you can do that.
The diversity is insane. It's not just one race in a pool of 50 states by no means. It's just everybody is in a mosh pit all spread out through all of 50 states.
But then you don't realize, like, if you were to go to, like, Quintana Roo, Mexico, like near Cancun, those people a lot of them look African American. And if you haven't had life experience yet to know, like, no, that's just someone from Mexico or Hispanic. But there's going to be a lot of people in different countries that aren't going to look like you may thought.
Yes.
Just based on you grew up watching, TV or shows, or the few people of a different race in your town. It doesn't reflect
not at all.
All of them out there, right?
Yeah, not at all time. Yeah. And that's what kind of had, like you said, that misconception a lot of people think, even to this day, where people think I have Hispanic or Mexican background and stuff, but I do not. So, yeah. It's usually the eyes that give it away for people for me. That they're like, oh, okay, I see. Now that you've pointed out that you're Asian, I see a little now in your eyes kind of thing.
Well, you got an incredible hairline, too.
Yeah, it's it always gave me issues growing up of my dad would take us to the barber shop and stuff every Saturday, and it infuriated my mom, I remember, when I first got my first haircut, because my hair used to be like out here with just like a bunch of different like curls, all different directions, going one down, one sideways to the right, one sideways to the left on the other side. Right. And like I got my first haircut, and I remember it took me like 3 hours sitting in that chair.
Really?
Because I didn't get my first haircut until 6th grade. So, I just had hair from birth all the way to 6th grade. My mom was like, oh, this beautiful hair. Yeah. It's like, this is beautiful hair. We're not, actually, I do believe it should be on my Facebook. If we scrolled far enough, it'd probably be on there under my personal name. And me as like a little child, and it's just curly to afro like crazy.
I'll look for it.
Yeah. So it was, I didn't get it so like I said, from birth till 6 pretty much. And then we went to that barbershop that day. It took 3 hours sitting in that chair. And I came home, and then my mom was so mad that day, and then from then on she started cutting my hair. So
well, there's no balding whatsoever. There's no receding. I mean, my hair has been receding since I was a sophomore in high school. It started to recede.
That's funny.
And I thought it was because of hats, and I was wearing a lot of hats.
That was a myth for a while.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and I also thought maybe I was wearing my hat too tight,
Mm-hmm.
like I was cutting the circulation off.
Yeah.
Like you start imagining like,
You think now this is the big issue?
oh, this is
Yeah.
why I'm going bald. I
Yeah.
stopped wearing hats.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm always jealous of like people who have like you have a great hair.
I appreciate it. It's hard to tame when it gets to this length. So my mom was, she was just telling me the other day, because now she's a cosmetologist,
Okay.
and so she was just telling me, she was like, "Juwan, I need to give you a haircut. You look like a hobo." And I was, she's pretty blunt on how she tells me about my hair, because that's the one thing she wants me, of course, always take care of. So it's like I make sure that now when I get ready, it's not a quick brush. It's a soak my whole head under water to tame all of my head down, and then it's brush, then dry it off, kind of thing. It's like I have a whole female's process at this point, kind of thing. Yeah, for getting ready. So
Well, it's interesting. I haven't even published this episode, but I just interviewed a lady from the North Alabama foster closet.
Mhm.
So, she and her husband are fostering kids. They've had them for like 9 years, and
Mhm.
then now they're involved in this group, a support group, right? Where if you've adopted kids, or you foster kids, and particularly those that are not of your race,
Mhm.
you have to learn
Yes.
a different hygiene and like,
Oh,
well,
for
how
sure.
do you shampoo this type of hair
Yep.
versus this type of hair, and
African American
skincare.
hair is different than
Yeah.
I'll say Caucasian hair, just to be I guess
Yeah.
politically correct in that sense. Yeah, it's definitely different. The textures, because I have 4 girls, so all 4 of them. Well, one of them has very distinct hair in comparison to the rest of my 3, and so one has, I'll say, pretty African American hair with like the touch, the feel, the way it looks in design and everything. So the other 3, they kind of have more of I'll say Caucasian kind of hair, easier to calm down. You can kind of quick brush with some spray
Mhm.
and it'll be fine. But my oldest daughter, you have to like soak her whole head underwater pretty much and like drench it
Really?
before we get it calmed down. Yeah, so it's definitely unique how each child pops out completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Juwan contacted me because he has a company he started called Tru Vision Wrestling, and there's a story
Yes.
to this. And I think what we're gonna do is have Juwan talk about how it's from you born in Huntsville. You
Yes.
spent time in Talladega,
Mhm.
and then were you raised in Talladega?
No, so I didn't go there until second semester of my sophomore year. So before that, I had lost my vision when I was about 11. At that range, we were living in Montgomery, Alabama at that time, and so my vision had started noticing going down. I realized that I kind of couldn't see from the back of the class, where everyone averagely should be able to sit anywhere
Mhm.
in the classroom and stuff, and I'm like, I can't see. And so I remember I had a little meaner teacher at that time in
Oh,
6th
really?
grade. Yeah. So, you would expect at this time when a kid is complaining to you that they can't see, it's just probably a standard little like procedure of just go get reading glasses, and go get it fixed.
Mhm.
But sadly, that kind of started a whole jumping of me visiting every eye clinic everywhere kind of
Oh,
thing.
really?
Yeah, so it's I've been to just about every eye doctor locally and everything for the eye disease. And so when I'm in Montgomery at 6th grade, they end up moving me slowly to the front. The next thing you know, my desk is in the very front. Like in the
Did
very
you try
front of the-
glasses at all? Or-
So none of them were working. So what
Okay.
was happening was I have a eye disease called Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy. It's a
Say-
whole mouthful.
Say that again.
Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy.
Okay.
So what that pretty much is kind of not enough blood going to the optic nerve. And it also seems to be one of the lower end of the items that have been studied, especially due to this case. So what I've been seeing is like 1 in every like 10 to 100,000 people get it kind of thing. It's supposed to be a recessive trait, to my knowledge, that passes down from the mother's side.
Okay.
But the confusing part is they have found no genes to show as such from my mom. So it's kind of a stumping moment for them when they were trying to figure this out. And so from 11 to 14 and a little bit on, probably throughout 16, I had suffered severe vision loss and a massive decrease over those years of going from 2020, where before that I would played soccer for 6 years. We played pickup football at the local park down there growing up, able to like run, play wide receiver, quarterback, and things like that. All the hand-eye coordination ball sports I was able to play, and I did play at. So the vision starts going from 2020 to about 2400 is where it caps off. And so, yeah, the acuity eye chart, it's I don't know if you're familiar with, but the example I always use for people is imagine I have to be 20 feet on to see the same item that you have to be, whatever that number is on the other side of that slash mark. So if it's 2,400, you could be 400 feet away to see the same item I would have to be 20 feet away to see.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was really a learning curve because I had lost that vision. My vision went down to about like 2080 to 2100 from 11 years old and kind of like stalemated there. I could get around like normal. I didn't have any like severe issues of needing large print and things of that nature. But when it got to about my freshman year in high school, so fast forwarding about 3 years, I started running into poles. You know, the dividers you have in those big double doors in the middle, start hitting those. And this is 7A high school I'm in. So, you know, pumping people, pushing, pulling, things of that nature.
Which high school were you at?
Grissom.
Grissom,
for,
okay.
Challenger Elementary, Challenger Middle, and then went to Grissom from that. Okay. So I stayed in Grissom for about a year and a half. And I suffered, I'll say, the most vision loss there. But that was where my vision, like I said, got to 2,400. So I had to pretty much relearn over the span of 6 months, learn an entire new self at that point. And it had me very angry, I'll say, for a good while because the home life wasn't the best. Not that it was anything of anyone's specific doing or anything like that, but it was all just contributing factors. So I then can't play any sports, and I grew up very physical, you know, just going outside every day. We're made to go outside daily and, like, come back in when it's evening time and stuff like that, ride bikes, go play with friends, and just do something outside sports-related or whatever it may be. And so it gets to the point where I can't play anything. So now I can still see 2020 in my dreams, but I can't see in real life anymore. So then, you know, that brings depression onto me at that time. And so I didn't know, nor my mom or dad knew correctly how to guide me emotionally through a time of an unusual loss of vision. Yeah. I'll say, because, you know, standardly people are probably losing vision just due to like the common ones are like cataracts, glaucoma, and things of that nature, and they're not
age.
Yeah, age, and it's like that's a progressive thing slowly, but mine I'll say it's slowly to the point where it's adaptable at the same time as it's losing. But mine was just overnight. You can now see your hand in front of you and all the dents in your hands and the scratches. To the next 2 days, you can't even see your hand directly in front of you in a dim light.
Really?
Yeah, so it goes from like 3 feet in front of me at that time and point of my vision. I couldn't even see my hand to where, like, you know, it's facing in front of me. And so it got to a really scary point of my life. I'll say through my freshman and sophomore year was like, I'll say the scariest points for me, because you have a time where, now that I have plenty of time to look back and reflect on this, I'll say, you have time where you're messing with peers. You're getting into trying to do everything the peers are doing, but your vision is still going down consistently. So you have everyone's picking for their freshman year after everybody gets from middle school. They're picking their electives, but now I'm limited to what electives I can do. So then I'm starting to figure out, I really cannot do and function as normal. So it made me more angry with myself because I had no questions ever. The doctors kind of just gave me the questions of, there's a support group on Facebook, or there is a non-FDA approved medicine that might work. We don't know if it'll for sure work for you or not, but there are side effects we have to let you know of too, kind of thing. So it's called Idebanon, and, you know, I tried it for a while, but I started suffering the bad side effects that I didn't realize I was suffering on top of me losing it at that same year as well.
Was it a cream you put on your eye?
No, it was 3 pills that I had to take 3 times a day.
Okay.
So it was at 900 milligrams you had to take of these pills throughout the day and stuff like that. But I'd suffered the bad side effects of like the sleeping, the bad thoughts in my head, the depression nonstop and stuff. So going through that, the peers slowly figuring out I could not do and function as normal really had me in a different place, I'll say, in life for a really long time.
Hold on. Let me ask you a couple questions.
Go ahead.
So you're at Grissom.
Mm-hmm.
You're losing your eyesight.
Mm-hmm.
Things aren't great at home.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have a refuge there.
Yes.
School's probably is a frustration.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have friends?
Yes, that's the thing. I had plenty of friends because I was at that time I was really good at hiding my disability and just internalizing everything. I'd run into something, oh, I'd blame it on something else. Oh, I didn't know that was even there. But you'd attempt to play it off as well as physically possible to where other peers didn't think less of you was my goal at that time.
They just thought you were a funny guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so then now you're over here tripping on stuff, but it really hurts. Like, so it was hurting me at first, but at that time for me it was a better gain for me to have peer approval. I'll say at that time, for being a freshman and sophomore, it was better time for me to have peer approval than admit to myself I had a vision problem.
But you weren't able to go and play those sports with them anymore.
Yes. So that's when I will never forget Coach Sorrow. He's I do believe he's retired now at Grissom. He was like a legendary wrestling coach, where he was one of the first people, him and my first sergeant through ROTC at Grissom. They gave me my first pass for being visually impaired and being okay with it and finding a good point in it. So Coach Cesaro was a head wrestling coach at Grissom High School at the time I was there, and he was excited that I was visually impaired, actually. So when you start in wrestling, you have two people in the middle, and they're starting away from each other. The ref waves his hand in the middle. Yep, neutral. They have their hand waves in the middle, and they're like, all right, go. But when you're visually impaired or blind, they start you touch start. But the thing is, a lot of people don't wrestle and start like that. So now when I wrestled anybody, they already were thrown off because you have to start here. If we break contact, it's time to come back together. We'll pause the match, and we will come back together and meet in the middle again and start again, touch start. So that was an advantage I actually started gaining on people, is understanding that, okay, well, maybe at that time and point, I wish I would have thought that this is my calling. But I just had something at that time that released me a lot of anger. I could pick people up, slam them at that time.
Yeah.
And so it provided me a lot of relief being able to work out with them, and it created me a small family, I'll say there, of you're a part of the wrestling team. We got your back if anyone messes with you in school. Not that anyone was messing with me, but because my brother, he had went through that same school, Grissom, before me, so he had some friends that had lingered past as well, and so they were like, Juwan, just let me know if anyone messes with you as well. So it was like, it wasn't one of those things where I was bullied, but it was one of those things I wanted to prevent bullying, possibly, I'll say, from me having a disability, I'll say.
Were you 126?
Yes, 126 and 132.
Okay. Both my boys wrestled 26 and 32.
It's a quick thing where it was easier for me to just figure out how to wrestle blind or eyes closed.
Now, what about like with so at some point though, your friends find out,
yes,
hey, I can't see.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hide it anymore.
Yeah. I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
There, in ROTC, I had asked, hey, First Sergeant, I have a vision problem. Is it okay if I join your little thing we got going on out here, the MST situation, military skills training practices that they were having outside? And this was like the first realization that I could not see, and this will be injuries that I remember from my life. We were changing out inside their locker room, and he comes in yelling like, son, get outside, or all of y'all get outside, we gotta hurry, we're already late. So everybody just starts sprinting outside, but I still have 2400 vision. So I start running with them, and they all spread apart because they're dodging these yellow poles, those caution poles that come up to your knee, but I didn't see that. Yeah, I didn't see them all break off and why they all broke off, and I was already sprinting still. Oh yeah, so then I trip over that, and so it hits my knee, I flip forward, and then so he asked me, son, are you good? There's a whole like baseball welt on my leg, and so I keep getting up, and I'm like, all right, maybe this is my fault. I shouldn't have ran. And so he has us doing laps around the soccer field. I run into a soccer goal, like physically inside the soccer goal, and I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. And so I've had that like public embarrassment, I'll say, more or less, because I didn't tell anyone what my problem was. No one could help me at the same time, or I wasn't allowing people to help me. Just looking back, that was So that was my first realization of like allowing friends to kind of know. Then everybody kind of knew at that point that, all right, he actually has a vision problem. He just ran literally into a pole. The very next 10 minutes, he ran inside the soccer goal. Like, it wasn't like the pole or anything. So it was like, in the net. So
were you ever able to get a driver's license?
Nope.
No.
So, I've tried
legally
driving.
Blind.
Yes. Okay. So it was, I had times, where eye doctors had thought that I was lying on eye chart tests. You have the big E at the top and it goes smaller and smaller. So with my left eye open, my right eye closed at one point, during the Grissom time, I couldn't see the big E at all. So like I told the doctor the only reason why I know it's E up there is because all of y'all had the same eye chart test, and so I was like, other than that, I can't see that E up there. And so yeah, it kind of started from there of like, okay, our son has like a severe issue going on if he can't even see like that big E up there. So
can I tell you something funny?
Yeah,
you should go back and watch my very first episode.
Mm-hmm.
I interviewed Tricky Ricky Fernandez from the Trash Pandas.
Yeah,
and he's a local guy, and he was telling me, when he was younger, he was like struggling in baseball, and he's like, "Mom, I think my vision's messed up." I'm like, "No, it's not." He's like, "No, I really do." And so they took him to the doctor, and I guess he kind of guessed the letters, and I guess he guessed them all right, so they sent him home fine.
Oh wow!
And he was like, and he finally just confessed, like, look, I was lying. I just but I guess he guessed A, E, S. Like, Rick, it looks like your vision's fine.
That's funny.
It's not. I just guessed all the letters.
Anyway. That's what I had to pretty much do, is just let them know, like, I can't see now. It's like my right eye does all my seeing for me.
So did that, dating, hooking up.
Yep.
Like, was that
was an issue too.
That was an issue because now you can't drive.
Exactly. So, it was a whole schematic plan for me at first. Where at first the best place to go at our generation time, I'll say when we were 14, 15, 16, was Skate Odyssey. And on Southside Huntsville, and that was where like all the people went and stuff like that. We'd have all night skates of like 500-600 people or 400 people sitting in there in the skating ring. I would always hit people in there, but that's the place that all the girls and all the guys our age are going to from all the local schools. So if you want to prospect, you can't really look that blind out there, kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's one of those situations. So I'd have to play that situation off as well, the same way I tried to do with my friends as well. It was a lot of playing off, so it weighed on me mentally, and it caused me a lot of mental exhaustion in the future because of just trying to play it off and trying to act like, I'd say more or less I was normal. Yeah. I'll say quote-unquote normal, but, normal in the sense of all 5 senses work completely fine, of standard fine.
Yeah.
And so until I hit 16, luckily it wasn't an issue. I kind of play it off, but then because every one of my peers don't have a driver's license yet. But once it hit 16, I just kind of made excuses. Oh, I don't have a car right now. Because if it's like hookups, you don't have to really explain too crazy much, So it's I would just explain that like I just didn't have a car right now. Yeah. And then it was little cues and stuff I would try and find of like seeing and making sure my accommodations were met without actually having accommodations, if that makes sense. Yeah,
makes sense. All right, so you end up having a good wrestling career at Grissom?
So, I'll be honest, I didn't have the best career there, but that was the first sport that I found out I could do with a vision problem after I had to stop all of the eye-hand-eye coordination sports. So, once I figured out that, my grades start slipping at the same time and going terribly bad to where I'm failing everything because I can't see everything, and it's progressing worse as I'm trying to figure out what I can and can't see. It's changing daily. So one day I can see this book at this 48 font, but the next day I need 52 size font. And so the teachers don't even know exactly how to help me when they have 7 periods of 30, 35 kids in a class, and I'm the one kid in there that needs extra notes, extra enlargement. She's taking extra time out the day and stuff like that. So it gets to the point where I'm failing all my classes at this point. And so I ended up moving to the Alabama School for the Blind. And so that was sophomore year, halfway through my sophomore year. So that's where I ended up, and that's probably was the best place for me to go in retrospect.
What is the percentage of students at that school that are totally blind versus legally blind?
For me, when I was there, I would say it's probably 1% or 2%. It really, like, they only have...
That are totally blind?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because there were some people there, or a lot of the good general mass of the people, I'll say maybe 10 to 20 out of 110 students they have or so when I was there. A lot of them had better vision than some of the staff members, I'll say. Like a good portion were some albino people, and albinos can see really well at night for those who are just, don't have stacking and multiple eye diseases. If it's just albinism kind of thing, they generally have pretty good eyesight for the most part.
Wow.
Yeah, so it'd be like night vision specific, or a lot of them had like, you could generally group them in cases of eye groups where it's like y'all have bad night vision. Some have night blindness. Some have light sensitivity, and some can only see light perception, and so some are just totally blind. So what I'll say within that totally blind and light perception seeing people, there was probably only like 10 to 15 out of like 100 of like the high school part specifically that I even remember. Like maybe one to two per class of group of kids that passed through.
Did it take a while to make a new set of friends there?
No, because in that school, I was a unicorn again for my race, and I came from public school. That school, they almost do, not in an issue way by no means, but they almost do too well at their job, where they have created such a conducive environment that you almost don't know where else to get any of these accommodations. So you just kind of stay here. So if you find this out from kindergarten, there's only 110 students in the school at this time. That's counting from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. So you may have a class of like 7 to 12 to 15 kind of students graduating every year. So it's not a big school by no means. It's a 1A division school.
Where's it located?
Talladega, Alabama. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how I ended up there. Yep.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's just one of those kinds of things that they kind of all were looking at it. You learn different social skills too when you're in public school than when you're surrounded by a bunch of people who are visually impaired the same as you. It's one of those things of, since I can't see some of the mannerisms, but I used to be able to see some of the mannerisms, it grew me my correct social skills, I'll say. But if you've been visually impaired at light from birth, you might not have known some of the social cues and some of the social skills that some of the big peers in 7A schools learned, if that makes sense. So, yeah. It was a learning curve for them, and as well as me too, just trying to adapt to that environment.
So then, did you play sports there?
Yes, so I did track and wrestling there. And so we actually have to my knowledge, I don't think it's still been broken, but the second fastest 4x100 in school history there.
So when you run the 4x100, I mean, your head is kind of down, and you're looking at the lane.
Yes.
That line constantly.
That was the scariest part, I'll say. Sprinting full speed down a strip that's probably no bigger than like 3 foot long or 3 foot wide, right. And you have other people that are synergizing with you. So it was kind of different learning how to pretty much do sports that sighted people do and accommodating it without actual accommodations to you. It's like, what extra measure do we need to take so you can see this baton come to your hand?
Yeah.
So it's like, do we have to put someone who can see a little bit better than you before you so they can hand it directly to you? Or do you need to feel comfortable handing this to somebody? And if you're handing it to somebody, can you see their hand before it comes out?
Yeah.
And before you pass the next marker? So it was things like that we had to kind of move people around accordingly to other skill sets, and not just who's the fastest here, who can we put at the last leg, and who's the fastest.
Yeah, I mean, you got 2 people running the straightaway legs and 2 people running the curve.
Yes.
Yeah. The curve's even harder.
Yes, definitely. So we had actually a student, one of the students on our 4x1, he had terrible central vision, but really good peripherals. So he always looked at it like this direction. So he's always has his face kind of cocked sideways and stuff like that. And so it kind of worked for him going on the curves. He made it work somehow. Yeah. It looked kind of scary if you watched him run, but he ran straight somehow. So, yeah.
But what a great opportunity.
Yes.
To be able to continue in high school and playing as many sports as possible, even with a sight deficiency.
Yes.
Right? So I don't know a lot about the Alabama School of Blind, but
they have cheerleading. They do swim. They have like a boys and girls kind of club, boys and girls scouts, to my knowledge. And when I was there working there after high school, I had started up a weightlifting program and a powerlifting program there. So it did its thing and stuff. And then once I had left there, it kind of fell through as well. Once I had left there. So yeah.
So let's transition into combat sports, if you will. Jiu-jitsu. Are you in Muay? Is it Muay Thai?
No. So
walk me through now your history of combat sports, so that we can provide the context to what you're opening up Tru Vision Wrestling.
So I figured out that after the wrestling part from Grissom, I continued the wrestling through Alabama School for the Blind. as I'm going through the motions and everything from the Alabama School for the Blind, I realized that um, I am a little bit more athletic than the average, I'll say, which I would rather want to use that. So then I find myself going, after I graduate, I find myself going to jiu-jitsu, or Brazilian jiu-jitsu in Pell City. And the gym's no longer open, but it was mission submissions inside Pell City and stuff. So when I had gotten there, I had found with a new professor that he thought it was neat again that I can't see as well, but I find a way to work on the ground, kind of thing of I'm closing my eyes and I already know where your body's supposed to be for this move to work. So I just do that in my head a lot and like 10 times faster kind of thing, so we can go at a live speed. And so I'm doing jiu-jitsu for a collective now of like 6 years, but as I first start, it's a frustrating thing for me at first because it's a new sport again with 50 more doors that open for every counter now. In wrestling, it's like there's a counter for every counter, but in jiu-jitsu, there's like 20 more doors that open once you move one different new position. So find myself there. Then I start teaching wrestling inside that gym as well. So it starts becoming thing of I'm breaking down moves to people who can see, but I'm telling them as if they can't see. And then they're almost thinking of this like gold because they're like, the way you're explaining is, I'll say, very, what's the word to think of? Detailed oriented.
Okay.
Yeah, in that sense of put your palm here.
Very specific.
Yes, very specific, because I'm used to teaching at the Alabama School for the Blind for my other friends when I was helping them.
Okay.
But each student had a different vision problem. So I just took that skill and moved it to people who can see. And then when you do it that way, it's almost like they can understand it a little better. Do you understand why is my hand even turning this direction? Why does my wrist even need to be here? Why does my leg need to be here? And so you start explaining that and just get shorter and more conducive for explaining those kinds of things. So I end up doing that. I teach some kids jiu-jitsu after a while, after I get like the adequacy for a blue belt level. I start teaching kids class program there and helping co along with it and stuff. So it kind of ramps up my timing, I'll say, and my speed of learning everything, learning the kids, helping teach that, and doing the adults. So I was training, I think, like 8 to 10 classes a week for a while, for about like 3 years. So it was quite a lot of time on the mat that I've gotten to spend in different positions, different things like that, getting a role with everybody. So
let me ask this: based on what we covered before, you in your growing up years, getting through the Alabama School of Blind, and now we're transitioning. It seems like you're getting into a good space.
Yes.
Are you at this point over the pity party, if you will?
Yes.
Like, when did the pity party end for you, where you're like accepting of, okay, I can either just be mad and go throughout this life mad, or I can accept this and figure out how to turn this into a positive? When did that happen?
When I met, I'll say 2 separate people in my life gave me that exact epiphany. When I went to the School for the Blind, I met somebody who's now the principal at that school, but he was just the English teacher for me, helping me get a credit recovery situation because I failed this class in Grissom at that time. So he was my English teacher, but slowly became my mentor at that timing. So when he had became my mentor, it kind of showed me that more of the male's perspective. So I was angry at home when we'd go home on buses on weekends, come back and I'd vent to him stories of whatever happened to me and stuff. He would give me the male's point of view, and then he'd give me the parent's point of view. So it started helping me think of ways to break down situations in a different manner than what I was doing already, and breaking them down not by myself, but then he started helping me not be so angry, I'll say. Just from talking, not anything specific he didn't give me any like money or anything like that, but
what was his name?
Alan Nunn.
Okay.
Yeah. So he helped me. I'll say, it's for me, I believed it was things that a parent, or not a parent, but my dad should have taught me, kind of thing. It just wasn't one of those things on the list. When that's all right. It's not like a angry situation, but it was like how to do taxes.
Yeah.
And so specific, like kind of run me through that. He helped me one year, like do my taxes on paper. You know, no one does that anymore. But I remember I was in a time.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had actually had him on the phone one day, like getting all these taxes done, send it to him as a rough draft, you know, just to make sure. And I actually had to do it that year. I don't remember exactly what happened, but things like that of that nature were taught to me. How to find out who is inside my medical providers list. Things of like the outside nature that it really helped me grow, I'll say, in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's after I figured out those kinds of lessons, things in life started slowly clicking for me, and so it kind of started helping me in that direction. So
That's Alan.
I'll say he impacted me more than I can help. So now I attempt to redo that in the same generation in a similar situation scenario. If I can replicate it, I attempt to do the same kind of thing, and that's how I can attempt to repay what he helped me with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were at this mission submission, is that what it was?
Mhm.
Place, and you're doing jiu-jitsu
Mhm.
and teaching wrestling. And then where do we go from there?
After I'm teaching wrestling there, then I end up working back at the Alabama School for the Blind during this duration. So that's how I ended up graduating valedictorian. So it gave me a good, easy buy-in back because, you know, as you approach graduation, you're figuring out what can you now do job-wise that allows you to have a vision problem. Because not every job allows you to have a vision problem, I'll say. Like, I know that sounds discriminatory, but, you know, there's a lot of jobs you just can't do or you can do, but you're ignorant to the fact of which jobs you can do because of your ignorance of jobs out there. So I end up getting an easy work back in as a dorm parent for the kids there. And going to that job, I'll say, helped save me mentally because I could take care of other people who were visually impaired who didn't have the best home life. But now I'm 20 at this point, 18 at this point, working there, redoing and helping them guide them back through where I did mess up myself as a child, if that makes sense. So, I just get to guide them and stuff like that. So it kind of helped me and got to build some good connections. So, I end up going to wrestling after that. No, actually, I had to stop for a while. So I had to stop wrestling for a while. After the jiu-jitsu part and teaching wrestling and had to stop that, and then I transitioned to doing powerlifting for the school as I was working there. So time constraints and everything was not matching up with my schedule for a while. So I knew always in the back of my head I wanted to make some money as a 9th grader.
Yeah.
As soon as I started wrestling, I was like, I want to make some money. I have a passion for this and everything. But that's what my biggest goal always was as a freshman, was to make some money teaching people wrestling after I figured out I was good at interpreting and redoing my thoughts to others.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then you were down in Talladega for 5 total years.
Mm-hmm.
So some of that was the student and then some was working.
5 was working and then 2 were student.
Okay. So
so 7
years.
total. Sorry. Yeah. After I added that out.
Okay.
So it was
And so were you competing as a power lifter and stuff?
No.
And
So I had through my years of training and everything, I had gotten a chance to teach a lot of kids over the years of because weightlifting with the military skills training and stuff like that when I was at Grissom helped me get a lot of formulate techniques and stuff like that. So I just brought that over to them and I was on the direction, I'll say, to starting the competition part for the students.
Okay.
But at that time, to me, you got to be, if you're going to be visually impaired, you have to know how to defend yourself. And you have to know how to at least be able to carry your weight. Specifically, at least just walk around with your weight and be comfortable with it. So that was what I wanted to intel into all the boys there. Is you at least got to do 50 push-ups. You know, you got to at least be able to squat your weight kind of situation. Yeah. So I just trained them to try and get to that point, and then it ended up helping them, and then we were on the direction of starting a new team before, and I had to leave and stuff like that and come back here. So
you know, they say I don't know who the they is, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It's a popular thing when they say if you've lost a sense, your other senses become more heightened.
Mm-hmm.
The question centers around that might be entirely true if you were born blind,
mm-hmm.
but do you feel, so here you are, you're a teenager or your early teens, and it starts to degrade to where you get 2,400. Do you feel like some of your other senses have become stronger, more acute because of your, your degradation in your sight?
I gave this actually a lot of thought, and I believe it's not like your other ones are get better. It's just you use them more. I feel like it's all a plane of you have all 5 senses, and if one goes down, you're just kind of using more percentage out of 100 than now the rest. It's like we all have capability to use full range of 100, but once you get a disability, now that 100 is now at 50% of sight. So my now new 100 is 50% of a normal person's bar. So I have to use 80% of my hearing now, kind of thing. Is how I'd like to think of it, in like the analogy I like to think, because I would like to think that my hearing just can't be that much better than yours because I can't see. So I may listen for more things than you because listening now tells me certain things. Like if I hear something drop, I now usually can tell what it is on the way, like as it drops in whatever sound it makes. So it's like if I step on something, I usually can generalize and start eliminating things in my head of what it can't be. Yeah, so you may do the same, but you could easily look down and see, okay, well, that's a pen, but I might have had to hear that it was a pen drop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like that's how I'd like to think about it. I could be wrong, but that's how I'd like to think about it, just from someone who's lived on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting thing to think about. I don't know if you can even measure that, but I think that's that's a good explanation.
Yeah, that's how I tried. Yeah.
I think that's a good explanation. So how do you get into starting Tru Vision? And there's your logo on your your sweatshirt.
Yep.
Get that on the camera.
So actually, during this duration of me stopping jiu-jitsu for a while, I have contact with the same professor because he helped me, like through those times. The people in my life who helped me stapling wise, regardless of my vision, are the people who set imprints for me for the rest of my life, kind of thing. So let's see, maybe about last year or so, mid last year. Before that, it had been maybe a 2 to 3 year gap of me being able to train adequately of what I wanted in my life. So I had been wanting and looking for a spot to train, but transportation comes into an issue for me. So then I had to be in an area that was already pretty close for me to be able to train. There was nowhere accessible for that for me. So I contact him and I ask him like, hey, where do you know down here that I can train at? Because in the martial art community, everybody knows everybody in the nearby area, kind of thing. And so he just knew more people than me. So he had directed me to the people who own Rocket City Revolution Jiu-Jitsu, and the person who I believe is a partner now owner of Webster's Martial Arts in Decatur, and those two became partners to create one tribe.
Okay.
And so I end up contacting him, and I end up just shoot my shot and just say, hey, I have 10 years of wrestling experience. I've been coaching for 6 years at that point, and I would love to see if y'all have an opening to see if there's any time I could teach wrestling with your gym. He ends up contacting me back saying, hey, thank you for messaging me. We're actually about to jump into this new gym called One Tribe, and gave me the whole breakdown of everything. And I was like, man, it's like this couldn't have like fallen any better in my lap, kind of thing. Yeah, so it all fell together, and I ended up being the first coach that jumps in there with them. And so they move into One Tribe. I ended up being the first coach to be able to pick my times, my outlets, and everything, what days work for me in transportation. And so I had, it kind of worked out really well, I'll say, with just the lineups and everything and how it went.
Did you have to like teach a class and they just monitored you to see if you were a good instructor?
So what happened was the coach that was in charge of mission submissions, he was good friends with the guy who runs not good friends, but he was friends with the guy who runs Rocket City Revolution. And so at one point, so he had directed him and told him a little bit about me, and was like, this guy has a vision problem, and just gave him my background and stuff like that. He's wrestled, he's very passionate at what he does, and you just like a little up talk kind of thing.
Okay.
And I guess that kind of helped push me into it. So I attended one of their jiu-jitsu classes and stuff afterwards, and everything. After that, I got the contract, and luckily it went very well from there. because you have full under One Tribe. The one thing I really love is you have full capabilities to do everything you please. That is your gym just with them.
Yeah.
In the sense, and that's how they try and make you feel is we're not trying to sit here and tell you exactly what days you're allowed and what, and it's more of a everyone work with everybody thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's their website,
Mm-hmm.
One Tribe, and this is kind of cool where on Facebook, I've noticed this lady Tina Ayers that runs the Equity Boot Camp.
Yes.
And so here I am, like I'm aware of that. I see her posts. Posting on the different things with her classes, and then I'm doing research, getting ready for you, and then I noticed that you have this link to the One Tribe.
Yes.
And then I look through some posts and I see, oh, she did a Facebook Live. From there, and so here's all those. Here's what Webster Martial Arts Academy, Rocket Sea Revolution, Aces Combat Club, Freedom Muay Thai, the Tru Vision, and oh my gosh, look at all these things.
Everything.
Krav Maga, there's Equity Boot Camp. So essentially, it's a great idea where they're providing the warehouse, the space, and then you're kind of coming in and getting to teach your classes, and you're giving them some
full freedom range.
Some cut of whatever.
Yes. So it's
for use of the gym.
For the cut, it runs off of how many students you have. So it's after you pass 10, you just split it down. We have our splits, and it runs from like 0 to 4. You have a certain amount percentage you get. You earn more percentage as you grow bigger. So of course, it's not like they're out here trying to, I'll say, tax you hard for. They want you to grow, like, because if you grow, they grow, and we all grow as one at the end of the day. So
and the facility is always being used.
Yes, exactly. So you have more times being put in and more people, because you can hang your banner up in there, as you had that picture up earlier. So it's you can hang your banner wherever you want. You can input a desk if that's how you feel. You can get sales cards as you bleed, as you need and stuff.
Right there.
Yep. So it's I chose to have that because right along that red carpet going down the back way is the front door. So it's like as soon as you come in the front door, just because I can't see doesn't mean y'all can't see, kind of thing. So y'all see my logo and my board right up there. So it's
well, here's a question I want you to ask them.
Sure.
I having spent most of my career in the intelligence community, I analyze things, right? And I'm like, there's a lot of ceiling fans. I wonder if that used to be a restaurant beforehand, or if they put in the ceiling fans.
I think that used to be an actual gym, like a.
Oh, really?
To my knowledge, I think it was like a Red X or something. To my knowledge, I think.
Okay.
I could have been wrong, but yeah. Now Blitz 45 is to the left of it, or on the other side of the wall to the right now. Okay. And so now this is. I think they've been in there since January. So I got to be one of the first people to, like, step in there with them, kind of thing. So it's
off Hughes Road, right?
Yep, 97 Hughes Road. That's
cool.
Yeah.
I like that concept.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's I'll say it's different because to me it's the owners. It's specifically the owners that make it. They're not, well, to us, or not to us, I can't speak on everybody, but to me it's not a fighting between battle of power between them. It's a united front of every time you bring something to one of the bosses, it's okay. Let me have a discussion with if you speak to Stallions, for instance, is one of the boss name. He says, "Let me speak to my partner Bruss, and I'll get back with you." Yeah, like it's that kind of unification that I really value, and they're not stepping on each other. There's communication across the board. It's easy to communicate with them and find compromises pretty quickly. So I truly believe it is like the bosses that make this work. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too when you think of, it's brilliant when it comes to kids, because when I was thinking about this before you came over. I'm too young for Bruce Lee, but Bruce Lee was everyone talked about Bruce Lee and martial arts or karate, whatever he was, right? But I was a kid when the Karate Kid came around,
for sure.
And these are things that have huge impact on what kids do. So all of a sudden now everyone's in karate or taekwondo because Karate Kid came out.
Yep.
And then those same kids, they last however long they last, and they get tired of it. They don't like it, and some kids love it.
Yep.
And then same thing, like a musical instrument. I've had 4 kids, and we've all gone through the phase where they come home and they want to play the violin, they want to play the trumpet.
Yep.
And we have like a collection of guitars that they promised they were going to play and learn, and they
don't touch.
They don't. Yeah. So how cool to have this gym where it's a location, but you're gonna have those kids or even maybe adults that retire from one discipline, whether it's Krav Maga or Muay Thai or wrestling.
Yep, judo.
And now
everything.
they want to do something else, and you can stay right there in that facility. You know, like you're not necessarily having to go away.
Yes, and
to satisfy, you know, whatever you're looking for.
And that's the big selling point to me as to why we're able to, I guess, be a little more productive in the sense of, if you, all those things you listed off, and we just listed off all those different logos and all the different combat sports that's in there. If you start for wrestling, for instance, and my price is, let's say, $100 to keep it simple. As a primary, you can do judo for a secondary, and you only get charged half of the tuition for judo. So if their price is also $100, you only get charged $50. So for a total monthly price of $150, you can do both full time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then you can do a tri one as well. It's a tertiary class. So, you know, it just cuts down in price again. So it cuts, it in the long term, it does not cut the program owner. It does financially, but you get another student, and that student likes it. If you're that great of a teacher, though, and your teachings, and your passion pours out in your teaching, they will always come back to you. Yeah. I'll believe.
What on earth is judo?
It, to me, I don't have a full understanding, but I would like to believe it is throwing your opponent, more of Greco style, Greco wrestling.
Okay.
Throwing your opponent, controlling the upper body, no shooting on the legs like wrestling. So you're kind of dealing with the waist up, trips, falling, and then they do incorporate chokes, to my knowledge of what I've been seeing.
Okay.
Incorporating chokes and a little bit of jiu-jitsu on like the ground game. So, but I think judo came first before jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So, how many students do you have now?
I'm at 11.
Okay.
So we didn't actually start, I guess, collecting checks and getting payout until January, February of this year. So it's been growing pretty well. I had like 6 signups this month. So
are these mostly kids that are elementary school, intermediate school, that are, or middle school, thinking about like?
So it's actually a mix.
Is it?
Yeah, it's actually a mix where I have a 10-year-old that's 5'2", 110 pounds, and I have some 15-year-olds who are like 5'8" and like 250 pounds. You know, just all different kinds of weight classes and stuff. And I have high schoolers, kids who are not in school, kids who are homeschooled, and I'm about to actually have a 31-year-old come in. So, but that's the different thing about my program in consideration to some of the other programs that are related to wrestling around is I teach from the ground zero, where they're only teaching you for high school level. I'm teaching you just because you want to learn wrestling, or this benefits you for MMA, or this benefits you for jiu-jitsu, or whichever it is. I accommodate for whichever martial art discipline you primarily want this for.
Wow. Okay, so it's not necessarily just conform to the high school rules.
No, not at all.
You're expanding beyond that.
Yes.
And then they have to figure out how to curtail that.
Yes.
If they're going to participate in wrestling in high school, then they need to, you've taught them this full scale, and then they'll apply that to the rule set. Okay.
Because it's a pin is a pin either way. So every day when we're wrestling live, if I have 2 people who do jiu-jitsu and I know you 2 do jiu-jitsu, I'm going to allow you 2 to do wrestling rules with submissions. So it turns into like catch wrestling, but just specifically with you 2. Once you go to a high schooler, we're going back to the pin, the old wrestling ways. So if it's things like that I attempt to tailor every single practice, whoever fits what, because that's something I learned with my vision is just staying on your toes and accommodate everybody. So if you're not in here learning high school wrestling and you're 22, why am I going to teach you takedown is worth 3 points? You know? So it's stuff like that. If you're in here for MMA help, I'm going to mainly run you on takedowns. How do we control them really well? What is the extra detail we need to know in here to keep them down on the ground?
So I liked how you probably had a little bit of that fake it till you make it aspect.
Yes.
Of like, you go in there with confidence. Yeah, I can do wrestling, you know, and like, have you ever done it? No, but I can do it. Trust me. So they give you the go ahead. Now you probably have to go to the lab, if you will, and maybe study up some, or like, okay, what am I going to teach these guys? Like, what kind of was going through your mind when like, yeah, let's do this. Yeah, Tru Vision. Welcome to the tribe.
It felt more, I'll say, as cliche as it sounds, it felt like everything flowed together so well that now when I teach, I feel like I have 10 years of knowledge backing up all of my stuff. So it's more of the sense of expanding my knowledge and coaching better to where I'm not just shoveling all my information out in 2 practices. Holding, like, almost like gatekeeping, you know, all that comes across the whole thing. I'm kind of gatekeeping certain information, so we expand the curriculum. We make it last, lengthy, detailed process. So it's when they gave me the go-ahead, it was probably the happiest moment of my life, because I felt like I found something that I love doing. And that whole fake you till you make it, I think that only actually stopped for me until this past year. Like, I just now, this past year, this January or so, when I got this go ahead to do this, probably helped solidify emotions of not be so angry with myself. So it helped me in other ways other than just to go out there and go teach wrestling.
Okay.
It's this at One Tribe, and I was telling my mom this the other night, this at One Tribe makes me feel like I'm not visually impaired in a world that visually impaired isn't so accepted. So it's not like I feel discriminated, like everyone I walk past is like, oh, blind people suck kind of thing. Nothing like that, but to me, it's more pressure on myself because you're always your biggest critic.
Yeah.
So I'm just a big critic on myself, and I had these aspirations when I was young of I wanted to have kids. My mom remembers when I was 9, everyone's saying I want to be a police officer, but I wanted to be a dad at 9. So I wanted to be a dad at 9, and so it's things like that now I wanted to do things with my kids, to go drop them off at school, have that 10 minutes in the car of there and back, and stuff like that, of talking to my mom the way I did and like giving her the daily report. But then that was one of those things that's like, okay, now I can't do that. Now I have to find another way around and stuff like that. And like I said, this helped me and put me in a place with One Tribe where I don't feel judged for having a vision problem. They look at that as one of those unicorn aspects, actually, is because I have Tru Vision, because that responds to me having to close my eyes when I wrestle. So it's just Tru Vision is you really don't need to see to be able to do these wrestling moves. Like, I'm your perfect example. We can wrestle, and I will show you everything I could do, kind of thing. And it's like, it's more of it doesn't matter what you say, more of the actions you take on the mat.
Now, what about those other, like, jiu-jitsu does require a little bit better vision than wrestling?
No, actually, I'll say it takes even less energy. It takes even less vision than wrestling, in my opinion, because I can pretty much slap hands and bump fist as like a sign of good job and good luck to you in the match. I could probably slap hands, bump fist, and immediately close my eyes and start standing in the neutral position. But just because in wrestling, you have so much more physical and mental energy being drained from you that sometimes I'd rather jiu-jitsu if I'm a little lazy. I'd rather pull to some jiu-jitsu because there's a lot more places I can rest. In wrestling, it's your coaches are breeding into you to just go 24/7. It's don't stop. When you stop, you lose kind of mentality. But if you do the techniques right, you won't lose either way.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Like, when you look at that TV, is it a clear picture for you?
That's the thing. So I wanted to discuss that part with you because I've had one best friend for about 10 years, and this is somebody, like, I'd give my life in replace for kind of thing. He'd give me his right eye, and just one of those kinds of friendships and stuff. We sat down and broke it down, and it's pretty much like the HDMI cord to your PS5, to your console, your TV is going out. That's pretty much how my vision looks. I'm seeing, I'll say at this point, different items than you're seeing. So let's say, for instance, I didn't see like the protein shake your body gave me here. If I didn't see it, it would just be kind of non-existent. Not that it'd be blurry or anything. I just have full-on blind spots inside my eyes where there's clusters of retinas and cones in your eyes. But the clusters, for me, some clusters are just completely not receiving the information to my brain, telling me what I'm looking at in that half nanosecond. You're looking at something and say, oh, this is a bottle right here. But my brain is not receiving that information to tell me I'm looking at this X in certain spots of my eyes. Yeah.
So it's like it's not even there.
Yes, non-existent. So that's why that soccer goal incident, I just didn't even see the soccer net. Yeah. I just saw the trees behind it, so I thought I was still running the correct path.
So the reason I asked that is when it comes to you being a student of, I'm assuming you love the UFC.
Yes, very much.
And in order to be I'm going to make an assumption that outside of wrestling or to be an instructor in these other disciplines, you would have had to have watched a lot of footage.
Yes.
Right? So that your impairment is not severe enough that you're still able to watch film. You're still able to appreciate so that you can then take that to your students and teach them different techniques, tactics, whatever.
So I'll say thank God for iPhones in the way that the handicap accessibilities on all of those have worked for me. So some things I look at in inverted colors. So I may take a wrestling match and invert the colors and take it frame by frame. Slowly, where did his knee fall down in pausing it, playing it, pausing it, and playing it, and moving it by frame kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so that'll help me break it down, but I'll do that in the comfort of my own home. So it's like, I don't need to do this at the gym. We can look at this later. Give me a day to look over it, and I'll get back to you on what we can fix in your thing. Or what I've been doing is show it on me. Show me the move you're having issues with. Where's the position? And I'll have an answer for you right away, kind of thing. So,
but where did you learn that though? I guess is it just natural to some degree?
To me, I feel like it only became natural after I became visually impaired. I started when I started doing jiu-jitsu, everyone was so amazed, as like, oh, he's the one visually impaired person in a small town that is doing better than the average at jiu-jitsu. Not that I was like some world champion by no means, but I'm doing better than the average in my gym. Out of like a gym with 30, 40 people, I'm probably tapping more than half of them, kind of thing. And you're now getting tapped by a visually impaired person. So they're wondering, what are you doing so different? But to me, it's just closing my eyes and just feeling it. Like some people, I guess, may rely on their vision too much and might rely on your hearing too much. I know that sounds crazy, but I would have only said that probably if I would not have made that claim if I didn't lose my vision.
But there's no shortage of like technique.
No. In your
mind, you can teach anybody anything.
In my mind, for wrestling, yes.
For wrestling.
Okay. Because I can explain to you in very much depth, why does your foot need to be here and why do we need to turn it at this angle? Why will this help you and what injury will this prevent? And stuff. So it's like I've seen the injuries. I've seen the possible issues of back issues you can have if you're lifting somebody up this direction. And if you don't go under their hips this way, this is what they'll do to you instead. And, it's just those counters and reversals and stuff. And so I feel like I'm confident enough that I by no means am the best coach, but I can teach from ground zero to a state champion pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that you have to have those quals. Like, if you didn't know me, you would say, "Oh, did you used to do this for like?" No, this is just a hobby. Like this podcast.
Yeah,
but it just makes sense to me. And like, do I wish I had pursued it like right out of high school or something? Well, maybe. But it's still a hyper competitive field.
Yeah.
So, what I'm getting at is, the older I get, the more I'm not that like excited when someone says, "Oh, I've got 25 years of experience." Well, is that a good 25 years?
Yeah. How much struggle is that?
That doesn't mean that every single year you are necessarily progressing in all aspects. Like you lived for 25 years and you did some things, you had some experience, but you can have someone with 2 years of experience that knows more, or is more capable than someone with 25 years of experience.
They didn't go through the same struggles you might have went through 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So they could have cut the corner.
Yes. Part of this is what really makes Juwan, right? Some of it's genetic.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of it's cultural, maybe. It's a terrible stereotype, but Asian people typically excel in combat sports, right? I mean, it's just. I remember I was in college. I was in college and I was in some class. It was like, I think I was doing my associate's degree. It was a long time ago. And I was interviewing this kid, and he was, I think he's Korean. And the question I asked him was, do you get tired of people assuming that you're really, you're into karate because you're Korean? He's like, I've never been asked that before. It's a really good question. Or pick an ethnicity, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you think all white people do or all black people do.
Most people just thought I was fast at track because I was black. So it's stuff like that all the time. So yeah, definitely. That became an instant joking point, and I'll say one of those like connecting moments when you meet other people who do track, other people who do the same thing, and they're like, "Yeah, you're only fast because of XYZ." And it's like, probably.
And you might encounter that.
Yeah.
How old are you?
20. I'll be 27 May 5th.
So 27, right? You might have that parent that brings their kid, and they want their kid to be the next star, and they may say, "Oh, this guy, he didn't win any state titles in wrestling.
Yep.
You haven't really won anything. Why would we get our instruction from him?" And then you could say, "Well, let me have a few sessions," and they might go off somewhere else. And then they'll probably come back.
Yep.
because they'll realize, oh, actually, this guy,
works.
this blind guy,
Yes.
he's actually pretty good.
Yeah. So it was like a perfect example. One of the owners of Webster's Martial Art, the Stallions, one of the part owner at One Tribe, he let me have his son. His son wanted to try wrestling, so he tries it with me, and he said his son gave the review of he learned more in that 1 hour with me than weeks inside of Decatur High School's wrestling team, of his own practice, of his own affiliation, that the high school he goes to and stuff. So it's he learned more with me in that hour than he did with the actual coach there. Not saying I'm better than all the coaches, but like, you know, I feel like I break it down in a sense that nobody else can replicate my coaching. So that's how I feel about my coaching. So it's I think I've had like a 99% retention rate so far. I think I had one.
Have
kid.
any of your wrestlers? Well, you haven't been doing it long enough yet.
Yeah,
you haven't been doing it long enough yet to see them win a state title.
That's what we're preparing for. This is my first off season with them so far, luckily. So I just got him yesterday. Actually, during our practice yesterday, I told them, write down what record you got last year, and then write me down what you think your record will be this year. We're gonna get you all there.
Oh, like their win-loss record.
Yep. So I want to know, what did you do last year before you even got with me, and what did I make you do? Because I know it'll be from my efforts. What I'd like to believe is if I'm spending from February all the way to October with you, and I'm training you 4 to 5 days a week, then
are you also sending them home with nutrition and exercise and cardio plans?
I will say that's outside of my scope of practice. Yeah. But if they come to me on their own and ask, then I can only refer them to what I do. I mean, not what I've done in the past. So it's now I'm a certified personal trainer though. But the workout plans I at least can, like, you know, almost prescribe kind of thing. But still, it's a general overlay I try and help them with for the most part, is like proteins, carbs, and stuff like that. But yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But they need to be working out, and they need to be like, they need to be able to get into that third period
exactly
and
stay there,
dominate.
Yes,
because the other guy's gonna be tired.
Mm-hmm. That's why we do 5 to 6 minute rounds, sometimes 7-minute rounds of nonstop live wrestling, and we'll do back-to-back 3 7-minute rounds, and it'll be I always but I always tell them, this will help you, and y'all will thank me when you go back to high school and you're wrestling 2-minute periods, and you only have 3 2-minute periods. You've just wrestled, now in this one round with me, you've wrestled an entire match with somebody, and you're usually gassed by the end of 6 minutes, but you're moving to the next partner after my 6 minutes. So it's the same thing like they did with Usain Bolt, train him for the 200 when he's running the 100. Yeah, is my methodology, is what I try to do behind them. Okay. So, yeah.
I like that. Uh-huh. So let's transition just a little bit here. I want to talk about your real estate.
Yeah.
But before we talk about real estate, I think it's this. Your goal right now is to start this business and then to have it branch into other businesses.
Yes.
What does that look like?
First, I'll move there when I get to the steady point of being able to offer people, high schoolers, scholarships through Tru Vision Wrestling. That's what I want to do, is those who make it to school for college, I want to offer you a scholarship or something of how I can help you, whether it's not even for wrestling or not. I guess, let me take that back, for wrestling. But for wrestling, I want to be able to help the students who have stayed with me, and that's how I can do so, is those who are fitted for it and I feel are accomplished enough and they had their time in with me and stuff, I will help you in the way of a scholarship through school.
Okay.
And so that's my plan. And when we get to that point, I've paired up also with the executive director for field services for the blind to create an entire self-defense curriculum for the visually impaired and blind community out there all over Alabama. So that, along with getting the real estate to where I can get some houses for rent, fix them up and for rent, and get all that situated as well.
So are they being targeted?
No, it's not. So it's not that it's being targeted. We are always going to be at a bigger disadvantage. Assaulting happens regardless, whether you have sight or no sight, it's going to probably happen. Whether if you're getting robbed, they're not out here looking for visually impaired and blind people. It's just worse when you are visually impaired and blind and cannot defend yourself. You cannot see who the perpetrator is. You can't see those details, so you have to be taught how to use your other senses. But some never go through that because they never had to do hand-to-hand combat. Well, I'm not saying you have to go out here and do 20 years of jiu-jitsu to defend yourself, but the bare minimum kind of thing is what I hope to spread. Of if somebody grabs your wrist or if somebody grabs your purse, here's what we can do to get away and be safe and still be okay being visually impaired walking around.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So,
and then the idea, I guess, is that they'll feel more comfortable in this class because it's
I'm
other
teaching.
visually impaired people, right? Just like for you to make that switch and say, okay, I'm leaving Grissom, I'm going to Alabama,
And it made me feel good there,
right? And then those people will feel like, okay, I'm not like taking this class, a self-defense class, and I'm the only one that's legally blind.
Yes,
okay.
for sure. So that's what I try to do.
And
so
you've gotten that's about to start, right?
Yes, we're just finished up the curriculum for that yesterday. I partnered up with I partnered up with the teacher orientation and mobility at the Alabama School for the Blind. She had taught me as well. So when I went to teach there, or when I went as a dorm parent there, I told her before I left, I was like, Miss Omer, I'm gonna find a way to create a self-defense curriculum. Because after I did wrestling and jiu-jitsu, I realized how helpless the average blind person is. Not in a mean way, but they're usually, not that they have to be a fitness freak, but they usually can't even do 10 push-ups. They can't do 20 sit-ups. You know, just the standard physical fitness aptitude test you would want to do for anyone who's sighted. But you can't be disabled, to me, and have this downfall of physical fitness as well, where you can't even properly defend yourself or pick yourself up if someone pushed you down and held you down.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
yeah.
And what's the real estate? Like, where does that drive come from, or this desire?
Generational wealth so far. I have 4 daughters, so I want to create generational wealth where, like I said before, I'm my biggest critic. So I feel like when I leave this earth, I want my name to be known all over Alabama of stuff that has gone on with me, that I'm not just a visually impaired person kind of thing, that I have done these endeavors and they were accomplished. They weren't just discussed. They weren't just dreams anymore. They were actually action taken of kind of thing. So it's it's just one of those things, because I had promised, even when I was in wrestling in high school, at the blind school, that I had told my coach that I was like, I'm going to find a way to be a coach somewhere. And I just kept saying that nonstop. So as everywhere I went, I want to teach wrestling. I'm always on the way from after I graduated to where I'm at now. I was always trying to find a jiu-jitsu gym to teach wrestling. But whether it's give one extra tip on how to make your takedowns better or something, and get their feedback. Hey, how did you like that information? Did that make sense to you? And I'm getting everybody's feedback. Even now, I'm asking my students, what would y'all like to see coaching different? Would y'all want to change anything the way I teach or anything like that? And that's the one place I could take constructive criticism, I'll say.
I know you had mentioned earlier those gentlemen who had impact on you. Do you also get inspiration through like movies or stories or books you come where, like, the stories that are in those, and just people that motivate you? Like, what are those other sources of motivation?
My sources were really other visually impaired people for me, who have done more than me in not a shorter time, but they went through their struggle. Not because, my case is unique in its own and stuff, and some people have had their downfall of vision and stuff. But the other mentor I had, Danny Finley, he's albino, and he's created himself a business as well, and he's working full time, has 2 kids, married as well. And so but he's also visually impaired, and that's the key part to me is, if I feel like if someone were to sit 2 people aside and they have all the same accomplishments, but one has a disability, you'd probably look at the one disabled and be like, oh, okay, that's the one detail that sticks out now. Yeah, and so if it brings that much attention, I want to make sure that my accomplishments do not get interfered by my disability. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's that's more of an internal me thing. Could be the male ego in me or whatever it may be, but yeah, that's how I feel. The imprint I want to set here, and if I can set my kids up with rental houses when they turn 16, then I want to be able to give them this house. This is your property. You are the property manager of this house. Make sure a tenant stays in here. This is your breakdown of how much money you get per month and X. You pay this for insurance. You pay this for labor for people coming over and stuff like that. Yeah. And yeah, I want to set them up a safer environment to be in, less worry.
Do you have a second job, or
no? Actually,
just
so,
Tru Vision.
Yes, that's my main job. So okay. It's been very fruitful. Where I get disability as well, so it disability pays me pretty much enough to where I can live a very healthy and comfortable life and get what I need done and everything like that. And so I can put all my energy into this wrestling business.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And did you want to share the exciting news that you shared with me before we hit record?
Yeah, so getting custody of the kids. It should be finalized soon. So I'll say that is a wonderful time because I'm about to put all of my kids soon in jiu-jitsu. Because to me, as a female, I know that's a touchy subject. So so it's, let's say, well, if that's an issue talking about, but I don't want anything bad happening to them in a self-defense. The worst case scenario for a female is different than a worst case scenario for a male. So in a self-defense scenario, I need them defending themselves. Like, I can't just go get in a car and go jump to you and go run to you. So if your boyfriend's doing something bad, I need you to be able to be confident enough to take care of him in that situation. So yeah, I'm about to put them in self-defense jiu-jitsu alongside in that Rocket City Revolution inside that gym. So they'll be right next to me teaching. While I'm teaching in the middle of the mat, they're going to be teaching they're going to be taking a class to my left.
How old are they?
So my oldest is 6. Then you got 4 years old, then 3 years old, and about to be 2 in November.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's a lot.
It's on. It's good.
Yeah.
I got 4 as well.
Oh, yeah, nice. How old are they?
25, 23, 19, and 17.
Mm.
I'm going to be a grandpa in a few weeks.
Oh, that's nice. Congratulations.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to predict that one of your daughters is going to be like a UFC champ.
That's the wonderful part. I'll say is like
maybe more. I'm not, and I don't know your girls, but one of them.
Yeah, I hope so, because all they say is, I want to be just like you, Dad. And it's like, I'm not trying to vicariously live through them, but I'm not going to complain at all. If this is what you want to do, by all means, I will endorse you however I physically can, kind of thing. And they want to watch my wrestling matches. They want to watch. It was hilarious. I'll say last time we were together and stuff, I was like, all right, girls, I'm about to go to work. They're like, yeah, Dad, you make sure you take them down this time. And it's like, y'all are 6 and 4 years old saying this kind of stuff, but they've grown up just seeing my videos back and forth all the time. They want to always watch my videos of track, wrestling, all the sports in the back day and stuff.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Time check wise, is your fiance going to pick you up?
4.
At 4?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What haven't we covered yet that you wanted to make sure we dove into?
Because these could be replayed and sectioned out and moved over in front, right?
Yeah, I can always move things around.
Okay, so we can talk.
Or I just edit out what I just said.
Oh,
and it's like it never happened.
Oh,
and then
that's a fair point.
I just figure out where to
re-put that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the thing that started me even liking physical fitness and finding an infatuation for physical fitness was when I was living in Montgomery. There was not the best punishment given, I'll say. To keep it on normal PG terms, there was not the nicest punishment given, in my opinion. So, but during that time, I felt helpless all the time in my 6th grade year. And so I'm feeling this helpless where I'm, maybe...
No, you're getting more of the physicality and others aren't, is what you're getting at.
Yeah.
It's same for me.
Mm-hmm. So it's, I'm seeing all that kind of stuff, and I'm able to just sit there and cry kind of thing. I'm watching it happen. It's not the best environment kind of thing is what I'd like to see. And so I end up making a promise to myself, no one's going to hurt or do any of that to those who I love, so my brother and mom.
Let me ask you something real quick, though. Did you discover that through asking others, hey, when you do something bad, do those things happen to you? And they're like, no, not at all. Like, oh, okay.
My mom's I always tell her, if we didn't have you in our life, we'd be out there doing you don't know what kind of thing. We'd never know what I'd be out there doing, some bad stuff kind of thing. So I feel like if I didn't have my mom grounding me, like not physically grounding me, but like as a grounded parent, we would probably both be in a different scenario completely. So I feel like having her there, it really saved me on the way. While I was going through all my angry phases and stuff like that through my vision loss, on top of what was going on for the home life, for the punishing and everything like that, I knew it was wrong in the end of the day, because it's like something in me always wanted to be a dad, like since birth.
Yeah.
So, and I always wanted girls. That was my goal. Was I told everybody I just want girls. I don't want to see myself in another boy, but I think that was just because I was just angry.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just assumed, this is like the 70s and 80s. I just
Mm-hmm.
assumed everybody was getting punished at home the way I was.
Yeah.
So I never really asked.
Yeah.
And then you kind of find out later, no, it was a little probably,
Yeah,
ours was
it's a
probably a
little
little too extreme,
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't even think I asked around. I just assumed, well, that's just what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even in movies and TV at the time,
Mm-hmm.
it was consistent with that. Like if you went to Catholic school, right, the
Yeah.
nun was paddling the
Yeah,
kids.
and that's
so,
normal for that time.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just wanted to see how you were processing that. And
Definitely.
what was happening to you.
Yeah, I feel like if we didn't have my mom there, we would have been at the mercy of whatever
It's
thought
just you and your
processes.
brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, siblings, huh? So I feel like I said, having her there really saved that whole situation going on there. So then I started realizing, okay, this is not right. So I start getting into weightlifting very first at the beginning, and I start realizing this gives me almost like a euphoria high from just doing this, and I didn't know how many like endorphins it was releasing for me. And so I get to that, then I get to wrestling, then I figured I can pick somebody up twice my size. I'm like, oh man. So now we get into the mode where it's like I almost want to fight you kind of thing, and now I'm like, now I'm almost prepared to be doing so. So I start training to do as such. So then that training to want to defend them turns into a love at the end of the day. At the end of the tunnel is I did wrestling at first to wrestling and kickboxing, to give me self-defense, just like everybody else would at first. And then after that, then it turned into something that I was really good at and really passionate about at the end.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do right now for your own personal training?
I do a lot of. You mean like the movements and what like exercises wise?
Just exercising in general.
I do a lot of calisthenics now. So I have like my body style and everything is a replica pretty much of my dad, except for like raise him up to 6'2" or raise me up to like 6'1", 6'2", and then like same body figure, like just skin and bone and muscle kind of thing, just like you're no fat kind of thing. And so get to the point where I don't know, it's squats. We do squats, incline bench, and more calisthenics. Those I usually only do the heavy on like 1 day a week for the heavy weightlifting, and the rest is more of like 100 push-ups a day, the sit-ups, stuff like that of that nature, because I feel like that benefits my body style better for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it possible to? Is there any sort of modern technique, I'm going to say medicine-wise, where they can, I don't want to say cure you, but improve your vision?
There is a gene therapy that they're slowly starting to study more on. The issue is no two eye disabilities of this specific Lieber's is two of the same. So I could be sitting next to 20 other people in here having the same vision eye diagnosis as me, but they all have different encounters with it. They all lost their vision around 14 as a male and around different ages as a female. I don't know exactly what the age is for a female, but for males, it's usually like 14, 15. You're pretty much losing your vision if it's going to onset at that time. And so, but we all have different experiences as to what we can see. So it kind of is hard, and we're all really spread out.
Because it's all related to the lack of, or the differences in that blood flow, or the lack of it. And I guess
so I could have more than you. Yep. Yeah. I could have more than the next person. He could have a little less than the next person. And so in that term, it's I'm a part of the Facebook group, and this guy said it's like looking through static on a TV. But I don't have any of that. Like, I've never had any of that loss. For me, it's just poles just have been non-existent for me. So it was different in that sense, reading all of that stuff of like, it almost seems scarier. And after I got a hold of reading all of those Facebook groups, messages and stuff of all of the board they have up there, I didn't feel nearly as bad for myself anymore. It relieves some anger towards myself. I'm not the only one out here suffering by myself. It's a small group of us, but y'all are going through worse issues than me, I will say, where I almost don't, like, a lot of them are using a cane. They're having to get Braille, some of them having to get large accommodations where It's yeah, things like that. I can use my phone and invert the colors on my phone and point the camera at something if I need something, and that usually does me well enough.
Okay.
In that sense. So it's for certain things, but if it comes to like court documents stuff and like important stuff, I'll have somebody there to read it with me and make sure I'm not missing anything. But yeah, for the most part, I've been just blessed that my vision came back a little, and that's what the doctors are confused about, why it's come back. They have no even answer as to my vision went from 2020 2400 and now it's at up to like 2080 with corrected vision with the lenses.
Huh.
Yeah, so it's really weird the life, I'll say, to this point of what the trial and error and the tribulation, I guess, to get to this point of where I'm at now. So, because maybe 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't have been able to have the vision to teach wrestling.
Yeah.
So, but I've just been blessed at this point that I've been able to get together with the right people and be able to teach well.
I'm going to ask you some questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
You ready?
Uh-huh.
These are just kind of fun.
Yeah.
I used to call it the quick six. We'll call it the quick six,
Okay.
but you don't have to give quick answers.
I got you.
Your favorite UFC fighter?
Max Holloway.
Oh, yeah, he just won.
That
Big
spin
fight, didn't
kick
he?
to the nose was disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a UFC fighter you would love to beat?
Beat.
You can't stand
man.
them.
Oh.
Just shut their mouth.
I don't like
whatever.
Conor.
Conor McGregor?
I really don't like that. I'm just not that boastful of a person, I'll say.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you woke up tomorrow and had full sight, what's the first thing you would want to do?
I drive the furthest state away from wherever I'm currently at.
Just
like
drive.
Yes, get my license immediately and just go driving nonstop. That's been the dream of mine so far, kind of thing.
No particular state?
Nope, I wouldn't even have a destination. I just go somewhere. Just
go.
keep taking different highway exits and just explore on my own. Like I would take
Like
some
we
time.
said at the beginning, as long as you have a driver's license and a credit
You
card,
can keep going.
just keep going.
That's exactly what I do.
Something you're scared of or have a phobia of.
Running into stuff. I'll say at this point, it's running into stuff for me is in making sure I'm going always the right direction. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hidden talent?
I can do more than what the stigma is on visually impaired people. Yeah.
That's your hidden talent.
Yeah. In my opinion, that's my hidden talent is being able to exceed and do the same as a person who can see. Just may need a little extra time, may need a little accommodation, but I can do it. Yeah.
All right. Here's a question I love to ask people.
Mm-hmm.
You're downtown Huntsville.
Mm-hmm.
You know the Probst Arena, right?
Yep.
Where they have concerts and the hockey team plays and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're driving. Let's say you're driving with your family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 4 girls and your fiance.
Mm-hmm.
You got all the windows down.
Mm-hmm.
It's nighttime. Concerts just let out. People are walking all over the place down there.
Mm-hmm.
And you're slowly driving through, and you're cranking a song.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone that can sing in your car, I know you got like a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
But everyone's singing.
Mm-hmm.
What song are you cranking and what are you singing?
Huh. Oh, man. If it's one that everyone likes, it'd probably be a Chris Brown song.
Okay.
That's what me and my fiance and all my girls like listening to is Chris Brown. Probably No Guidance by Chris Brown. They all love that song.
No Guidance?
Yeah.
Now, what if it's just you?
If it's just me, I'm listening to my recent favorite is a Drake song, the Push-Ups by Drake. He just released, that whole, not sure if you're familiar with the whole rap beef, but they're going back and forth at each other for it. So that's been the newer song that he's released. So I've been liking that, and Drake's my favorite #1 artist. So
There's always been rap beef.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, 24/7. It doesn't matter.
all the way back.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what generation it is. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
There's a certainty there's going to be rap beef.
Oh yeah, for sure. Someone's attacking somebody.
Those are the only questions I had.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
No, this was a great.
Any shout outs?
To everybody who has helped me to get me to the point where I'm at now. Because it took my determination, but I would never have gotten here if people didn't help me put me in place because they believed in me to some extent that I could do more than what I was showing. So even when those days I was in a terrible timing mindset-wise, there were these specific people in my life that helped me and get me out of that and take a chance on me bigger than what I thought of myself at that time. So now I'm reaping the benefits of everybody who helped me, I will say. So
Awesome.
yeah, it's everybody at the school, the blind school. He no longer works there, but Danny Finley, he and now known those two and my mom, those those three people I'll say were pinnacle people growing up that if I did not have as mentors and parent, I would have been, I don't know, probably still angry with myself now.
Do most people that have had a hand in kind of developing Juwan to where you are now, are they aware of what you're doing? Or is there going to be some people who are like surprised, or you can't wait to reach out to them and say, guess what I've done?
So this is a goal of me establishing Tru Vision Wrestling. I didn't know that I was going to get it to this scale, I'll say, but in this quickly. But I've always told these specific three people that I'm going to find a way to make some money off of wrestling. Now, whether it was believed or not, I don't know. But when it finally came together, it's like it all was supposed to be here kind of thing. So as Mr. Nunn told me, I was like, man, Mr. Nunn, I'm so lucky that I'm here. And he was like, Juwan, it's not luck. You've been preparing for this for the past decade of your life, getting to this point of wrestling. So this is all just your preparation and your work that you've just had accomplished at this point. So I was like, wow, okay, that's a fair point then. But yeah, like I said, those people helped me. They gave me guidance when I'll say I didn't need it. Not didn't need it, but didn't deserve it because I might have been the wrong person at that time, but they saw something different in me that I didn't see in myself. So that's the things that I give. Yeah.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Anything you want to say to your daughters? You can look at the camera. Why don't you look at this camera right here and just talk to them? I'm
going to see you guys soon. So, yeah, that's my biggest thing.
As much as I have a video podcast, I don't like looking at cameras.
Yeah, it's different.
It's very different.
Listening to myself talk and then looking at myself at the same time,
I struggle with, like, talking and smiling.
Yeah.
Some people are just really good at it. Mm-hmm. But if I was to do, like, a read or something, I'll be like, tell myself, hey, smile. And then I'll look at the recording and I'm like, gosh, I cannot do that. I can't talk and smile at the same time.
That's fair.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you giving me the time to do this.
Yeah, man. Yeah. All the best. I'm sad to say that any future podcast you do won't be as good. But
exactly. Yeah. Won't be as free as this, though. Yeah.
Nah, but there's other. I'll recommend you to a few other people.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But yeah, man, we'll run clips.
Yeah.
Those people like the clips and segments. But by all means, once it gets out there, tell all your students.
Yes.
Check out,
Oh, for sure. Let's get it on
now.
Facebook. Let's get it on Facebook. Yeah. Let's get it on TikTok. All that. Let's get it combined. Let's tag each other and get it. Let's get it spread out as far as we can.
All right, my man. Yeah. Hey, have a good one.
You as well.
Talk to you soon.